Today I'm talking about how the Sephardic Jews came to be. Yesterday's video was on the Ashkenazi. If you missed it, check it in the playlist, the one before this one. I worked on this chart for hours. It's convoluted, but here's how it goes. So Shem's line, you get Judah right there, which is who they descend from. However, Sephardic means Spanish. So now we got to go over here to Japheth. Japheth's line is Spain and Portugal. That's Caucasian right over here. Shem's going to be your Middle Eastern. Ham is going to be Africa, of which they end up getting all of it in them. So let's see. We're going to come to that Ashkenaz after because it does later tie in. Because of invasions, they end up getting a lot. So we're back to Judah, and they get kicked out of Jerusalem and the destruction of the Second Temple in about 70 AD, end up in Rome, eventually go to Spain. But before that, the Kenites actually mix in with the tribe of Judah when they're still in Israel. Now we got some Ishmaelites on the Arphaxad line through Shem, who end up meeting up with a line of Hams of the Mizraims, which is Northern Africa, Egyptian. There's some other sons, Libya and stuff like that, which caused the Arab invasion later in 720 AD. And that goes over to Spain, and now it starts tying in because they end up hooking up, and it starts to blend in. In 800 AD, Tyrus's line, again, Caucasian, that's going to be your Vikings, your Visigoths, come from there. So, interestingly, they may also have a line of Dan blending in. Now, we've got Judah, we got Dan, possibly because of Scandinavia, and they do invade later. As for the Ashkenaz, in 1200 AD, they end up making their way to Spain, and I know that some of that DNA does end up in the Sephards. You can tell by looking at the DNA of anybody that's living in Mexico or was from there or any of the other Latin American countries, you'll see the mix. They got the Ashkenaz, they got the Sephard. Now, I thought that the K's also invaded Spain, but I couldn't find anything when I looked again on the internet. So I was like, that's interesting. We know that they do invade Germany in that area and infiltrate the Ashkenaz, which makes sense. Because during the building of the Second Temple, they'd already infiltrated the Pharisees and Sadducees. So I was like, what if that was their focus? What if they only focused on infiltrating the Levite line? Because the Levites were the teachers, the priests. And then by infecting that line, they could control the narrative of what was being taught to the people about their religion, right? Remember I said that they brought in their Jewish mysticism and stuff like that. I think this is the reason right here, Matthew 28:13. The chief priests instructed the guys that were monitoring the tombstone to tell everybody that they saw Jesus' people take him out, saying, his disciples came by night and stole him away while we slept. Now, of course, the people would believe the priests that they're looking to them for answers. So they're going to believe what they say. That's a very, very dirty strategic move by Satan, by the way. But the Bible says, are you going to follow my word or are you going to follow the teachings of man? I think that's what it's about right there. So take note from the last video. We've got Manasseh and Ephraim. Okay, we're just going to say Joseph, right? They're both his sons. We've got Benjamin and possibly the Levites. So we've got, we'll call it 3 of the 12 tribes right there in the Ashkenaz, which eventually mix in because you could only hook up with people of your own religion with the Sephards when they get to Spain. And then in Spain, we've got Judah and potentially the tribe of Dan after they got kicked out, possibly going to Scandinavia, which is what's believed. So now we've got like 5 of the 12 tribes just sitting in the Sephardic Jews. But then in 1492, whenever the Jews were kicked out of Spain, some of them went to the Americas, and then I heard some of them ended up in Northern Africa and Arabia in that area. That's when you get your Mizrahi Jews. So tomorrow I'm going to do one on the Mizrahi Jews. I think a lot of the other tribes ended up in that area. So they might be the ones with the most in them. I don't know. I got to look into it and we'll see.